Hello, it's Mircea. Today I'm going to show you the game between Niklas Huschenbeth with white pieces versus Dieter Nisipeanu with the black pieces, played in the German Masters 2020 round 2. Let's start. e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4, pawn takes, knight f6, knight c3, knight c6. Here white has several choices. The main move is knight db5, and after d6, bishop f4, e5, bishop g5, we transpose to the Sveshnikov Sicilian. However, in the game, white played knight c6, which is also a principal move. Pawn takes c6, e5, knight d5, knight e4. The point of this line is that white has some space advantage because of the e5 pawn, and he wants to drive the knight away from the center with the move c4. Black goes queen c7, attacking the e5 pawn, f4, and rook b8. The main move is queen b6, but rook b8 is also a good move. The point is to activate the rook on the b file and to wait for white's move. Here white went c4, the most principal move, directly attacking the knight on d5. However, he could have prepared this by either a3, when most likely black will go queen b6, or also bishop d3, and then again black should play queen b6. c4, this enters some forced line. White gives this check on b4, and now white loses the right to castle. He goes king e2, the best move. If king f2, then there is f5, and white has to take on f6. If he goes knight d6 check, then bishop d6, pawn takes d6, and queen b6 check. This is the difference. There is this check now, and black goes knight f6. So he has to take on f6, knight takes f6, knight takes, pawn takes, with an unclear position. That's why king e2 is better, and now black is forced to sacrifice the d5 knight, but he will get compensation for it. So castle is the best. Of course, now the other line was not possible anymore. If f5, then knight d6, bishop d6, pawn takes d6, and there is no queen b6 with the queen f2 check because the king is on e2. So that's why in the game black goes castle, pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, and here it is a critical position, and it's not easy to find the best moves unless you know them, of course, but this is not really a main line, so you have to remember all the details. In the game, white played quite logically knight f2 to keep the knight close to the king. However, a better move was knight g5, and then black has to go d6, a3, bishop a5. E takes d6 is best. If b4, then black can take on e5, b takes a5, and e takes f4, knight f3, e5, and this position looks quite scary for white because the black pawns are just pushing. So e takes d6 is required, queen takes, queen c2, g6, b4, bishop b6, knight f3, bishop d7, king e1, f6, with idea e5, of course, and queen b3, e5, and I think it's easier to play with black here because of the weak white king, but objectively white could be slightly better. However, precision is required on both sides, but as I said, it's easier to play with black. In the game, white played knight f2, and here black goes d6 to break the central pawns. However, it was better to play f6. This was the best. Pawn takes f6, rook takes, knight d3, e5, and it looks a bit scary for white. It's because of the weak king in the center. d6 allows white a nice follow-up, but he missed it. It's difficult to spot. He took on d6, which is natural but not the best. The best move was to play a3, driving the bishop away, and black has to go bishop c5. Bishop a5 is pretty much the same because white continues with b4. So bishop c5, b4, bishop b6, bishop b2, and we reach a critical position where I think during the game black has good practical chances, but it's difficult to say which is the best way. I will just give a nice line, for example, f6, pawn takes f6, queen f7, and king e1, e5 with compensation for black. However, in the game white played e takes d6, and after bishop d6 the pawn on f4 is under attack. He goes king f3 in order to get the king away from the center. If g3, then most likely black would go e5, pawn takes e5, and now rook e8 is interesting in order to take with the rook on e5. So king f3, and here black goes e5, which is very normal. He wants to open the position in the center. However, another option was to play d4 in order to play bishop b7 check, and then after bishop d3, bishop b7, king g3, white manages to defend, but it looks a bit scary at this position because of the king on g3. So e5, pawn takes e5, bishop e5, bishop d3, and now black brings the rook into play, rook b6, with idea rook f6 check to attack the white king. This is very logical. However, he could have played first bishop b7 with idea to play some d4, and after king e2, rook e8, king f1, rook e6 with initiative, maybe idea to bring the other rook to e8. So in the game, black played rook b6, then white is trying to get the king away with g3, idea to play king g2, bishop b7, king g2, and then black goes f5 in order to protect the square e4, and he wants to push d4. And here white goes king f2, king c2. He's trying to exchange the queens. If, for example, rook e1, then d4 check, king f1, f4, g4. You cannot really afford to open the position on the king side. So g4, f3 with a strong attack by black. He wants to take on h2 and then queen g3. Although with precise play, probably white can defend here. So in the game he played queen c2, and of course black doesn't have to exchange the queens. So he goes rook c6, attacking the white queen, queen b3, and now he has to act quickly to open the position on the king side. So he goes f4. And this is another critical moment. White didn't find the best defense here. He took on f4, which was tempting but not the best. Much better was bishop d2 in order to complete the development and try to exchange some pieces with rook c1. And if f takes g3, then he can take back, and the h7 pawn is under attack. And if rook b6, then white has a nice resource, bishop a5, rook b3, bishop c7, d4 check, king h3, and this is an unclear position, but most likely it is a equal position. Black can force a repetition with bishop c8, king g2, bishop b7, or he can try to play on with rook d3, bishop e5 with unclear position. However, in the game, it was not easy to find all this, and he took on f4, bishop takes f4, and now white is in trouble. He played rook f1. He cannot take on f4 because queen takes f4, rook f1, and then black has a nice in-between move, rook b6, to drive the queen away from b3. And after queen c2, rook h6, black is just winning. All black's pieces are heading against the white king. So white goes rook f1, and here black took on c1. This is a forced line, which gives him advantage. However, I think bishop takes h2 was more precise and it was winning, but it was more difficult to calculate. For example, bishop e3, queen g3, king h1, queen h4, king g2. The king has to avoid the pin, and then rook e6. It's quite decisive. But okay, in the game, bishop c1, this is also good and tempting move. Rook takes c1, and some exchanges occurred. Rook c1, queen c1, queen b7, and here white would be okay if he has time to coordinate his pieces, but black gives his check on g5, very precise. The problem is queen on b7 is out of play, and here white missed his last chance. He's trying to defend the knight on f2. He played king f1, which was a mistake. He has to go king h1 instead, and after rook f2, queen b8, rook f8, he has an unexpected resource. Bishop takes h7. Probably he missed this in the game. I think he was very low on time. King takes h7. If king f7, there is queen b7, and black is not winning anymore. So king h7, queen f8, and black can take the b2 pawn with check. Queen c1, king g2, queen b2, king g3. But this is an ending, a pawn up for black. But because of the queens, white has chances to make a draw. So black has advantage, but it's not so clear. However, in the game he played king f1, and there followed very precise queen e3, and now it's not possible to defend the knight on f2. He takes the pawn on d5 with check, king h8, and he played bishop f5 in order to defend the knight on f2. If queen g2, there follows queen d3, check, and the knight is pinned. So bishop f5, after queen f4, white resigned because he cannot defend the bishop, and if the bishop moves, then there is a checkmate on f2. So this was a very exciting game between the two players. I think white defended quite well, but the position was difficult, and Huschenbeth Nisipeanu with black played very creatively. If you like this game, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Have a nice day. Bye bye.